Did Marshall expose flaws in Ohio State's defense?
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to a Tuesday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, here on Tuesday, September 24th in the year 2024. I am your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Joining us for today's show, it's my guy, Jeff Hahn, a part of the OG3 at the Off the Ball Network. He also talks quarterbacks with my guy, Stuart Brooking, over at the Morning Brew and Stew. Jeff, this is his first time coming on the show during the season, so I can't wait to dive into everything inside Jeff's mind after the Buckeyes have played 3 games. They're 3-0. Big Ten opener is this Saturday night on the road against Michigan State. But we're still looking back at what Ohio State did against Marshall. And I'm curious, I'm going to ask a question to Jeff right off the top. Did Marshall expose flaws in Ohio State's defense on Saturday?
Well, again, thanks for having me on, Jay. This is awesome. And we actually get to talk some football. We do so much preseason stuff that, it's great to be on. So the answer is definitely yes. And when I say that, like anytime you play another game, it's going to expose something in your team. And that's what you want. This is why you schedule the, quote unquote cupcakes. No offense to the MAC, but you all know what I'm saying. It's why you schedule these games the way you do, so you can overcome, recognize some of the flaws. Might be some of your personnel matchups. But what I saw with Marshall that I didn't like, and I'm going to retract everything later when we talk about some other stuff, is that the Buckeyes looked again like they're built like a team that needs to start every game up by 21 points. And they can be dink and dunked. And it was really what stood out last week was the versatility. And when I say that, like, I don't see the packages. Like, I don't ever see like a bear front. I don't ever see, them put 7 men on the line of scrimmage, no fire zones, anything like that. It is standard 4-man rush, head over, the offensive line, 4-man rush, and then know that your secondary will make the tackles, and a team eventually will either, make a mistake, or it'll take them, might take them 6-7 minutes to get down the field like it did with Marshall. And in your back pockets, that, this Ohio State offense is probably going to score, but it definitely seems like a team that's like, we're going to score. Let's make the other team take as long as they can. But again, it's the same old, like we're not hitting the quarterback. It's not even about the sacks. Sacks haven't been great so far this year, but they're just not hitting the quarterback. Now, Marshall's quarterback basically was willing to risk his life to score against the Buckeyes Saturday. And I tweeted that out. I'm like, that's hard to play against. When you play against a kid who's willing to sacrifice everything, knowing he's not going to win the game, but willing to lay it all out there. So that's going to look worse than it probably is.
Yeah.
But again, just what I see is like just no versatility, up front. You know what I mean? No. And I know everybody keeps saying like, well, they're not going to show anything and blah blah blah. Well, I don't know if it's there to show, because you got to practice it sometime. So outside of the games to where our athletes just overpowered the other team's offensive line in a pretty weak schedule so far. Not a lot of explosion out of the front 7. And again, I don't want to go on about the linebackers, but it's the same old story. I just don't see the level of athlete out there I need to at linebacker right now that I think Ohio State should have. So I know I'm sounding pretty negative. I think this defense is good, but I also think that they're really good in the back end and strong in the front. But there's still a hole. There's a hole right there in the center of the field, like there has been the last several years.
Jeff, one of my confusions with this team is that I was calling for more pressure up front from the front 4. And Tuimoloau and Sawyer, a lot of hype has been surrounding those guys in the offseason. And I did a show or a segment in the offseason saying, hey, Tuimoloau, I believe we're going to get more production from you. We got 3 years where the things I'm trying to say he's going to do, he hasn't done.
Right.
So I'm just believing in. I'm thinking he's just going to pull something out that he's never been able to, that he hasn't pulled out yet. And I'm saying, oh, I think I know you can do it, but what am I basing it on? I'm not basing it on film. I'm basing it on what I want him to do. We got 3 years in 3 games from Sawyer and Tuimoloau. They're not consistent pass rushers. So I think it's kind of foolish for us to expect them to do something when they have showed us on film that's not the kind of player that they are. That is not to say they're not pros. They're not going to make a lot of money in the NFL. That's not to say that. But it is to say we're asking them to do something they are not. That's not in their bag. Mm-hmm. So I think it goes into what we got on Saturday. Now, granted, Stone Earl did get the Marshall quarterback got some balls out really, really quick. So that's going to mess up any type of pass rush you might be able to get. However, I don't know, man. Like I keep saying, I think we all want Sawyer and Tuimoloau to give us more. Give us more in the pass rush. That's not their expertise. Tuimoloau is phenomenal in the run stop game. He is not the pass rusher, but we want him to be.
Yeah. And where's the dynamic athlete, hybrid edge rusher, linebacker that most of the really good teams have? Like, watch Alabama play, watch Georgia play. I know
I was thinking Alabama, man.
We beat this drum
get them every year.
Every year, like the prototypes of Will Anderson. Like that's your perfect defensive, the player that you can build, and JTT was kind of supposed to be that, coming out. And I know it sounds like we're being negative. I'm with you. They are doing their job, and they're both doing what they can do. Correct. They're doing it really well. I think Sawyer is extremely effective, closing the pocket. Mm-hmm. I give him all the credit in the world for that. This defense does not line him up. He's not out there in a wide 9, trying to take a run at the quarterback. He is head over a tackle, pushing that, collapsing the pocket, messes up the run game, messes up the RPO game. Very effective. So but as far as sometimes, we talked, we did a whole show like on styles, like was that going to be the guy, like blitz packages? Were they going to move him around in the defense? We haven't seen any of that yet from we haven't seen, Downs, as great an athlete as he is. They bring him down into the box a little bit, but mainly he's playing free safety. Yeah. And again, good job at it. He's one of the best in the country. This is not about the players are doing anything wrong. They're kind of doing what they're told. I mean, this is a Knowles issue. Now, what I say on the upside, good cop, bad cop, the good cop would say this team also, if they get a lead, is going to be really hard to come back on, as opposed to 2 years ago when we never had a safe lead. I mean, we had CJ Stroud out there slinging it and then still giving up 400. When this team gets a lead, and with this offense, it's several times this year, it's going to get a decent lead. Then it's a whole different ball game. So I understand that it's not even a bend, don't break. It's not that. It's a don't bend and don't break, when it comes to the deep passing game. Corners are doing a fantastic job. I think Igbinosun's been awesome this year. So physical, I think Hancock's playing good. Yes. Downs speaks for itself. Ransom these guys are tackling well. They're covering pretty well. Burke's playing tough, playing hard. He's competitive. He's competing, not just covering, but he's competing with the wide receivers. So again, the back end's amazing. And I don't know, and I know you got to take some of that away. That's a numbers game. So, Knowles has to say, hey, so one of you guys has to, come up here if we're going to get some pressure in the box, but then now you guys are going to play man back there. And I know for a fact that Marshall couldn't beat this team. So there wasn't any reason for Knowles to change anything. So I do think that the defense, I know it sounds crazy, will look better against better teams. I think the defense will look better. I don't know, now that doesn't mean teams are going to score less, but they're going to look better when a team cares about winning. When you're playing a team, just like I said before, that doesn't care if they lose by 21, but just wants to focus and make plays and maybe get a touchdown, that is hard to play against, because it's just not natural. Mm-mm. It's like, I don't know if you ever play basketball against a kid or someone half your size. Of course you're better, but it's way different. You know what I mean? It's just a different game when there's a mismatch like that. So I do think that it's going to show up next week. I think this week against Michigan State, it'll show up because you got a quarterback that, for however good he is or isn't right now, he can sling it.
Yes.
So he's going to test this defense, and then we're going to see, what they look like when a team's trying to win and trying to throw it. And my guess is the secondary is going to look really good.
Yeah. I'm with you, Jeff. I got a couple more questions for you. One of them is not so much about what happened Saturday, but what Ohio State might be able to do down the road. And it's kind of testing the level of defense Ohio State has. I'll ask you that question next. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot to stay alert to watch all your favorite games, or if you stayed up late to see that intense overtime game, take a 5 Hour Energy shot in the morning so you can start your day. With zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5 Hour Energy website has flavors galore, like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more. On the site, you even have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You choose the flavors, and it is delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy product today, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. This episode is brought to you by Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus has the best selection of pool tables, game tables, shuffleboard tables, and more. And the best service is Central Ohio. Everything you need for in-home and even backyard entertainment is at Billiards Plus. They are family-owned and operated, and when you talk to the staff at Billiards Plus, you are going to know you're talking to an expert who won't steer you wrong. No matter the season, Billiards Plus has you covered for all your indoor and outdoor entertainment needs. Kenny, Sarah, and the whole staff will always go above and beyond to give you the best customer service in the industry. Billiards Plus. Visit their showroom on Dublin Central Drive in Dublin. Jeff, I got 3 questions for you today. We just tackled one of them. I didn't know it's going to be question time with Jeff on the pod, but here we go. We already got the question answered. Did Marshall expose flaws with Ohio State's defense? We both agree, yes, they did. Does Ohio State have a championship level defense?
As of right now, I don't think so for everything that we said. And that's not saying that I'm not, that doesn't mean that I don't. Okay. This is clear. I think Ohio State can win a championship with this defense, but I don't look at this defense and think that can carry them. This is year 3 of this, and everything we just talked about. If you can't get after the quarterback, that means the quarterback's always going to have a chance to stay in the game. And if I'm thinking about a Jalen Milroe in the future,
man,
Gabriel, even Nebraska, when you get a dynamic quarterback, if you can't hit them. And we've said this for years, Jay. We've show after show after show. If you can't hit the quarterback and he's comfortable, he's going to have a chance to throw it. So now you're putting more pressure on the secondary. Now, if you tell me if this offense, plays the way it's going to, this defense is good enough to win a championship, but I don't think it's good enough to carry him to a championship just yet.
I'm with you. We basically would say the same thing. Our brains, when it comes to football, they really think very similarly. It's very confusing because we're saying this is the same show we did 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Talking about how the Buckeyes now, granted, no, 2022, 21, whatever. That was bad. So not the same show because those defenses were really historically bad. But Ohio State's been struggling to get a consistent pass rush since you had Chase Young. I'm not asking Ohio State to get a Chase Young every single year because that's almost unrealistic. But if you get a guy that can be more of a hybrid, like you mentioned, or someone that could be more of a hand in the ground that still can do a lot of things in the run game and in the pass rush game, that's more of what you're looking for. They don't have that. I keep hearing about guys that are backups that might be that guy. We haven't seen it. And the thing is, Jeff, what we have so far, you're supposed to show that against MAC schools. If you're that elite pass rusher, that's supposed to show up very clearly on tape or when you're watching the game live. That's supposed to be very, very evident. We just haven't seen it because I don't know if Ohio State has it. And if they have it, why save it for the Big Ten? Let that guy get some reps under his belt to get the game speed, because game speed is different than practice speed. The luxury for this team is they got Quinshon Judkins, they got Jeremiah Smith. So even if the defense has some issues, this defense is good enough to keep you in games.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, it's good enough to really slow down some attempt of the opposing defense, because I do think the defense will turn up the heat this weekend. They see the Big Ten patch on the chest. They see the familiar stadium that a lot of these players have been in. They see, oh, the last time the Buckeyes played there, they did X. Oh, and this team's better than that team, so we should do the same thing. So it's added motivation already. But no, like right now, I haven't seen enough. That's not to say, Jeff, that I won't be able to say that this is a championship level defense after the Oregon game, because you got Michigan State, you got Iowa, you got Oregon. 3 schools that'll test Ohio State in different ways, and we'll be able to better gauge what kind of defense this is after the Buckeyes play the first 3 Big Ten games.
Yeah, I totally agree. And again, I think that it's going to look better. You know, we've talked about that. And I also like, you know, I do like what they can do with their safeties. I imagine they're going to get way more involved. I mean, you'd be crazy not to use the resources that they have out there right now at the safety position. I mean, Knowles likes to run. They keep saying a lot of 3 safeties. I don't like to really distinguish these days about safeties and defensive backs, but they've got 3, you know, they got 3 guys in that position. We talked about when Knowles first got hired, we talked about the layers that he runs. So it looks like 3 safeties, but it's not a traditional cover 3. A lot of that's disguised, you know, so the quarterback doesn't really have something to really look at. That's all going to start coming into play. And again, I think the pass defense is going to be really, really good. You know, I'm concerned as anybody is if you get a sloppy game, you know, especially against that team, you get another one of those sloppy games against a good running football team that can also play a little bit of defense. That's what concerns me at this second. You know, I have concerns about, you know, can they hold teams to 2-3 yards rushing a carry, or are they going to break, you know, like they have the past several years, which has been the absolute fatal flaw, is the long run. That's it. That's all this team that has killed this team for 3 seasons, 3 championship level teams, is that they can't stop the breakaway run, and it's killed them. So far, I don't see what's different. The linebackers aren't playing any different than I thought. They're playing good, you know, but they're not thumpers. They're not playing any different. There's still some bad angles and some bad looks and getting caught up in a lot of garbage. I don't know if that's part of Knowles' defense, but I see the linebackers just getting caught up in trash a lot in the middle of the field and maybe pulling a guy down, but like not creating the impact as much as, you know, there for the tackle. And again, that works when you're up 50 points. Absolutely. I need to see it. You know, if a team needs a game-winning drive again, can they stop the run game, you know, from getting chunks of yard this year? And just the way they're set up right now, I don't think so. But we're going to find out real soon.
Yes, we will. I'm going to jump ahead to the 12th game of the year just because I can. It's linebacker play, and that's hurt Ohio State. In the past 3 times the Buckeyes and Wolverines have played, I'm getting a little animated and annoyed because as you speak about the same old thing, that's the same thing that's hurt Ohio State when those long runs have happened in the shoe and the big house, because Michigan breaks long ones. They wear you down. What we have seen right now is Michigan's going to rely on the run way more than they have any of the 3 previous years. Because Jerome Moore told everybody, we're not throwing the ball. Our quarterback can't throw the ball. We're going to run the ball. And literally, when you look at Alex Orji, he looks more like a defensive back, bro. He does not look like a quarterback. So you're telling me you have an athlete at quarterback that can't throw. Should Ohio State fans be nervous that Michigan's telling you what they're going to do, and what Michigan has done best over the past 3 years, Ohio State hasn't been able to stop?
Yeah, absolutely. It should be super nervous. From what I happen to watch, I don't watch I don't watch really any Michigan games just because I can't stand the sight of them. But I was very interested in that USC-Michigan game. And what I saw was a type of sustainable offense that, here's the thing, they're not going to score 50, but they can score 21 if they need to. And I don't think anybody in the country can stop them. Now, it's easy to say, well, Ohio State's going to score 48 and it's not going to be a problem. Okay, that's fine, but we don't know what the weather's going to be like. We don't know what the atmosphere is going to be like. And they still have a pretty good defense, and they're definitely going to be able to run on Ohio State. Like that's just how it is. Now USC played them pretty tough, started figuring out a little bit, slowed them down in the second half. But when they dedicated themselves to like they we got the ball in a game-winning drive, we're still going to run it. We're not going to panic, and we will break one. They did. And so it's the same old. And if Ohio State's got the offense and they think they can get the lead this year, not going to be an issue. But just like I said about the defense, like, do I think the defense can carry them through that game? I don't think so.
Jeff, got one more question for you. 2 down, 1 to go. And this one, it's not so much talking about Michigan or the national championship or the Marshall game, but basically what we have seen from this defense over the first 3 games of the year. I'll throw it at you next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Now, that's so good, I got to say it again. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. All the action goes down at FanDuel.com. So we don't normally do shows like this, guys. When Jeff and I are on the show, we don't normally just have these questions and answer type of sessions. It's more of a therapy session for both of us. And down the road, Jeff and I will have more of our true therapy session. But today I wanted to just change things up a little bit because this schedule this year has been so wacky. But Jeff, last question for you, and I'll chime in after you answer it. Is Ohio State's defense better than advertised?
No, not better. I don't think so. We've talked a lot about it. The edge rushers aren't making the impact again. The guys that stayed, JTT is just, he's not, the explosive, pass rusher. They haven't used Downs to his full potential. So, like, we're talking as of now, they're not better than advertised. I think they're pretty close to as good as I thought they would be. And, I still hear a lot of announcers and stuff still say they might be the best defense in the country. Maybe a true analyst that, that I will admit maybe can break it down and see things that I don't. Maybe they're right. I think a lot of it's just hype. I think it's easy to say because of the personnel. Downs is awesome.
He is.
And when they start using him, to his ability, he's going to be a game wrecker. No doubt. Ransom, I think it seems like he gets better every game.
He does.
I think, again, Burks played better than I thought, but it just goes back. The front set, the linebackers just haven't taken the next step. Styles, I still don't think we've 100% figured out what to do with him, even though he's played pretty decent. It's still just like, we thought he was going to miss her versatility, and we just haven't saw that yet. So, Simon, it kind of just is what he is at this point. You know what I mean? Like he's that guy. He's the same Simon. So I would say definitely not better. I'm not going to say they've been disappointed at all. I know everybody is out there like, guys, like they don't get scored on. Nobody can move the ball, but we're nitpicking here. That's what me and Jay do. We're thinking about January. We're not thinking about September football. So I would say they're pretty much as good as I thought they would be, but nothing's jumped off the page yet.
I'm going to be in the same path as you, saying no, they're not better than advertised. Jeff, I would have said yes, and then the Marshall game happened.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
I kept hearing all about this is an improvement week, and we're not taking no time off. We're not looking at it as a bye, but we're trying to improve, and every single player on the team has things they can work on to get better. Talking about the fundamentals. I keep hearing about special teams and how that's not going to be a failure. I keep hearing about all this stuff. Didn't really hear about all this talk in the offseason, which made me so happy because offseason talk has been very cheap at Ohio State of late. So I didn't really hear the offseason stuff. I hear it during all of a sudden 2 games in. This is an improvement week. Bro, you play 2 MAC schools. Like, you're supposed to blow them out. Okay, I like it, though. It's coach speak. I bought into it, Jeff. Maybe I'm silly.
Yeah.
It's an improvement week, and you're literally walking out there on defense, and it's the same song and dance again. Yeah. This isn't saying Ohio State's defense is not elite. It is saying, though, You can dink and dunk down the field. The scripted plays early. I talked to my wife and I told her beginning of games, a lot of schools would do scripted plays. They'll script the first 12 to 15 plays. Basically, you do this, the defense might do this. You kind of trying to pick and play chess. And these are plays where you're supposed to score. So you're supposed to score in those games and score on that first drive. And that's what they did. But it was right down the field. If Marshall had better athletes, better players, they probably could have scored a second time before that final drive of the first half. We're having a different conversation about Ohio State's defense. So I would have said yes to better than advertised after the first two games. I got to take it back and say no, but that might change down the road. Like, I'm leaving the door open for it to be something that once Big Ten play starts, they might show me that they haven't shown me before. I am confused still by now, granted, the secondaries, I think, will be fine down the road. I think this is a learning period. I think they'll be fine. The front, once you get Tyleik Williams back, that's not really going to help your outside pass rush. It's going to help you interior getting a push up the middle. So I think that's fine. Yeah. The question I still have, Jeff, we've had this, since the 2019 season. Even 2019, we still have questions about the linebackers. We're asking the same question again. The linebackers, I'm going to turn back to Michigan because that's what we look at, man. The linebackers are playing in a way right now that Sharon Moore is too smart. He might take advantage of them just kind of floating and getting sucked in. USC down at the end of the game kind of got worn down. Now, I don't think Ohio State can get worn down as easily as USC did late in that game. But, buddy, man, the linebacker play has to get better. I've been saying it all offseason. I'm going to throw it back over to you after I say this. That game was not about talent. I think Michigan has a psychological advantage over Ohio State in that game. And I think they still kind of have that right now. Oh, yeah. Ohio State has the talent advantage. That talent advantage might not be enough to get over the hump of beating Michigan because Buckeyes might not be over the obstacle psychologically. Are you anticipating Ohio State to psychologically be able to get over that major hump when the Buckeyes play? This is a whole team type of question. It's not just about the defense.
Yeah, no, it's going to be rough. And again, like, because they're going to be in a dogfight. They're going to be at a huge disadvantage because no matter what Michigan does this year, they're going to play that game like they're playing with house money right now.
Yes,
they're not like if they're probably going to lose another game before that. I think they're really good, but I think their offense is limited. Somebody's going to get them. But when it comes to that game, they're going to play it. They're going to play it with with no fear, no holds barred. They're going to try to. And that's something that what I really saw the difference in these two teams right now is quote unquote the violence or the urgency or like Michigan competes and cares every play that they're on the field. And I know it's a big difference, and Ohio State may look this way once they start playing Big Ten competitors. I think we're putting a lot on that. This weekend they may come out and be ferocious, but they just don't play real sudden. They don't play real violent. They kind of play a little lax, and it was 145 degrees on the turf in the shoe last weekend.
It was, man.
I think that was a big factor. I think all these players are kind of tired of the schedule. I think they're ready to, mix it up and get dirty and go on the road. I expect, Saturday we'll see a different team that we'll be able to evaluate it different. But yeah, as of right now, like the psychological edge, the physicality, all that still is lying up north. And that is a big deal. Now, talent, speed, superstars, I'll take that too. The Ohio State, I'll put it this way. Ohio State's good enough to beat anybody in the country right now. So there's no complaints about the talent level. It's about the want to, the necessity, like how much you care, like Will Judkins' attitude, Igbenogsen's attitude, Ransom's attitude, Downs' attitude, will that trickle through the team and get past what Jay and Jeff have been complaining about for 3-4 years now of this country club, kind of attitude that Ohio State has, and can they get vicious and a little mean and so that's my question for him right now. But as of right now, we just haven't saw it. So we're evaluating on what we've seen. We just haven't saw it, but we've seen the speed, we've seen the athleticism. You got to have that too. Can't just have a bunch of scrappy dudes out there because they're going to play hard and get beat. You don't want that either. You need guys that can run fast and jump still.
Jeff, last question here for you, a little topic here. You mentioned something about the viciousness and the violence that Ohio State needs to play with, not just against Michigan, but every single week. And I heard some of the covers of Ohio State talk about Ohio State not really being as violent on the field as they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be here halfway through the season during our midseason grades, Jeff, and talk about had the same question about the defense. Why aren't they more violent? Why aren't they more vicious? Why aren't they playing with a reckless abandon? Because you need to win national championships.
Yep.
This isn't a Big Ten. This isn't a Big Ten conversation. Like, Ohio State's good enough to win the Big Ten if they keep playing like this. If they don't play with more violence, they can do that. If you're going to beat Georgia, if you're going to beat Texas, if you're going to beat Alabama, if you're going to beat Tennessee, you need to be more violent. I hope we see it over the next few weeks. I hope we see it Saturday night. But, Jeff, it sounds like we're saying it's doing the same old thing over and over and over because it's the same players. Now, Downs might change things in Big Ten play.
Agreed.
If they set him free and let him loose, we might see a different level of physicality from him, and that might be contagious. But we just got to see him set free.
Yeah.
If that happens, I don't know. But from everybody else, it's like the same old thing.
Yeah.
On defense, they're playing better. Like, they're playing really good ball. Don't get me wrong. But I want more violence. I want more reckless abandon play every single day. I know I'm not the only one. I know you want it. I'm sure Mo wants it. I'm sure everybody wants it because you got to play like that to win the Natty.
Yeah, exactly. You have the other team has to be slightly concerned about what's going to happen. And again, I've seen some of it. I think, I think Burke's competitiveness has been really good this year. I think Igbinosun, has been really, but it just there isn't an attitude. And I know that sounds like we're being old football dudes that are trying to make up something that's not there.
No, I'm not making it up, but yeah.
But Jay, you said it the best. Like, we're not talking about winning the Big Ten. We're not talking about, a good enough. We're talking about, when you got to go play, Alabama, Georgia,
correct.
These schools, Georgia will show up and knock your socks off. If you play half-hearted in those games, like, it's not going to happen. So I think it will. I really do. I think this team, I hope they don't have too long range of a plan.
Yeah.
That they overlook, like, when to ramp it up and wait too long to turn it on. I have this strange feeling Saturday night that we're going to be really impressed with how Ohio State looks. They tend to do it against this team. They've been beating them around for, quite a while. I think those terrible losses over the years, always kind of add fuel to game week. When Ohio State plays good against Michigan State, they play really good against Michigan State.
Yeah.
And it's going to be at night. They're finally on the road. You got some fans, instead of everybody, blowing them kisses, they got fans yelling at them, calling them names, mad. Michigan State's got a quarterback that is definitely worth going after. Mm-hmm. Just the way he plays, like, he kind of challenges. He's going to challenge a defense's, like, mentality, and they're gonna throw some long balls too and challenge them physically too. So I think it's a really perfect combination for this defense. When they get a sack, it's going to feel a little extra. You know what I mean? Because he's going to be hanging in the pocket a little bit longer, trying to go over the top. These are just guesses that I have for the game. So I really think, but I will also say this: if we see another humdrum, defensive output, then I'm going to be really concerned about whether they do have a switch that they can flip and exactly how far this team can go, especially going into Eugene in a few weeks or Nebraska.
There's a lot more that Jeff and I can tackle and dive into. We just can't do it today. You can follow Jeff on Twitter at jhunt006. Follow me on the same platform at jstevens07. I appreciate Jeff coming on the pod. And y'all, this won't be the last time Jeff comes on here during the season. This has been Locked on Buckeyes on a Tuesday. We'll see you next time.